Your business is growing really nicely. I saw your most recent earnings report. You're growing customers. Customer and employee satisfaction is really high. You have waiting lists at many of your clubs, really serious waiting lists. Where did it start? What was the reason? What was the catalyst?
Gym culture, it's all been about pressure sales, getting you in, getting you out. And it was about selling more memberships than a club could ever possibly handle. Why would you want to do that to a consumer just to have them not use, right? Like it just feels wrong. Over time, as the company grew and added more locations and more people and expanded into becoming a lifestyle company, if you're a member, we want you to use it. We want you to be a part of the community. What we realize is people don't need to be sold. They need help. Instead of having a massive sales team, why don't we have a massive concierge team there to help you in every aspect? Not in just membership, but in life. That's really where I got to step in and hone this new path.
How quickly did you see that it was working?
Pretty quickly. If I think about the 3-year stint from our full year 21 to full year 24, we doubled revenue. So I think that kind of speaks for itself.
Welcome, Nick, to the CMO Podcast. How's your week going from a wellness perspective? I got to start there.
It's going pretty well. I think on average, I work out about like 6 times a week. So I'm pretty into it.
Me too, actually.
Yeah. It feels good. It's like if you don't start your day with it,
something's missing.
It basically ruins your day, right?
Yeah. I talked to Mike Grawl earlier today, the CMO of the Timberwolves and Lynx. And we were just talking about fitness and wellness and sports teams and so on and so forth. And I asked him what he does. And he goes, I go to Lifetime. And I said, well, I'm having the chief creative officer of Lifetime on the show later today. And I said, what should I ask him? What interesting questions should we talk about? He goes, I don't have any questions for him. Tell him they're doing a fabulous job.
Well, that's nice.
So there you are.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You must hear that a lot.
Sometimes, but you always I think you're your harshest critic, especially when you're a creative.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about that. Now, I'm going to start with a quote that we pulled that you made in a speech, and it's a beautiful one. A well-lived life doesn't happen by accident. It's designed. So say more about that and what it means for you personally.
For me personally, I think being around sort of this world that you curate, right, is sort of the key to happiness. And I think health is at the core of that curation. It's not just aesthetic, right? It's sort of everything that you curate for yourself. And I think when people understand that you can truly design the life that you want through health first, it's really powerful. And I think that's what I love about what I get to do at Lifetime.
Have you always been that way, or did it sort of come across your career and especially this role?
I have been like that since day one. I think I remember when I was a kid, I would just sit and decorate my room myself and sort of plan everything out. I would have my clothes laid out and redo everything for the next day. And I'd almost write notes for what I have planned. And so I've always been very intentional with sort of how I live my life, what I want to do. And I think that it blends so well with what I get to do now.
So you still do that? You lay out your clothes the night before?
Not always.
I do that.
But I do it sometimes.
And my workout clothes, I lay them out.
Yes. But it's so easy because then you can just get up and go.
One less thing, right? Yeah. So what is your normal fitness regime? When you say you work out about 6 times a week, do you change it up? Do you have a similar thing you do? Do you go to classes? Do you have a trainer? Do you do it yourself? You do a digital interface?
If I can get outside, don't tell Lifetime. But if I can get outside, that is my number one thing. I am a runner. I've always been a runner. And actually, I recently, for my 40th birthday, I did this run along the entire Costa Brava, which is from just north of Barcelona to the French border. And so that was a hike run, but it was an amazing experience. And so for the majority of the spring, I was really training for that. So it was a lot of hiking, a lot of running, a lot of uphill treadmill. But you can't really do anything like that if you don't have other training involved. And so I actually been working on hybrid training, which is similar to High Rocks. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's really about endurance building. So it's strength and endurance combined. And that's what really allows you to be able to do things like this out in the world.
Now, what's your ideal day at one of your clubs? If you don't have anything else to do, how do you spend that day?
Well, I think it's going to start off with a massage.
Okay.
Yeah. But then our clubs are designed to be there all day. So it's like you can work there, you can eat there, you can lounge there, you can go to the pool, you can work out, you can try a class, you can do a meditation, you can recover, and you can have dinner at one
Let's
of those.
go.
Restaurants. Yeah, right?
You can interview there, right?
Uh-huh.
Wow. So do you work there? I mean, do you go to the office or do you go to one of your clubs? Or
So one of the beautiful things about Lifetime, we do have a corporate office actually quite near here, but we really encourage everyone to be in the club, myself included, right? Like before I stepped into this role, I was a freelancer and I was already a member of Lifetime. And I actually would spend a ton of time working on other client business, but in the club. And it's really interesting now being a part of the company, but it's like you get to know the patterns of the members. You get to know the patterns of the team members and sort of what they're looking for, what they need, and sort of how we should communicate our product. And I think that's invaluable, especially for a marketer to be in the field, to be able to understand what that customer experience is actually like.
Now, we're going to talk a lot about Lifetime, but I do want to look at your career because I think it's so interesting, right? You're at Fallon, the great creative agency in Minneapolis.
It's an amazing experience.
Yeah. That was formative early in your career, 5 years.
Yeah.
A few years at PMH, top retail agency, working with Target, other great clients. You co-founded your own nutrition-focused meal delivery service. Then you went freelance, worked with a crazy amount of brands, great brands, and you did that for quite a while. So, fabulous career path, great warm-up or experience for what you're doing now. What is the red thread that you would say goes through all of those different experiences that you've had leading up to Lifetime?
I think constantly saying yes and being open to trying new things. I want to tell you a quick story about Fallon and sort of how I ended up there, because before I met them, I was sort of still in college. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was actually working for a street team, and I'm actually a self-taught designer, so I was doing some production work on the side. And
so that's at Madison, right? You were studying art and business.
Yep. And then I came back to Minnesota and I was doing a street team thing here in Minneapolis. And one of my fellow team members just decided to quit. And so I took the shift and I was like, okay, I'm going to go downtown. I'm going to do this event for Dos Equis and Camel. And so I was going to a bar handing out beer and cigarettes. Pretty easy, right? And turns out a whole group of people from Fallon were there. And I just went up to the table, introduced myself, bought them around, gave them a thing for a pack of cigarettes, and got to talking to them. And they're like, you need to work in advertising. And I was like, I want to work in advertising. And I was like, but I've actually applied and you guys haven't called me back. And so
beautiful.
Turns out the next day I actually went in because they were going to start their intern program. And so I basically, from that point, I was like, I will do anything. And I didn't go in with a path to be a creative. I went in with, I just want to work there. And I got to do this amazing around the world experience where you kind of go to every discipline. And I think at the end of that, I was like, creative isn't what I wanted to do, but it's where I felt at home. And so I think throughout my career, I've had those same experiences where I've just continued to find the things that feel right and the things that interest me. And I think at the core of that is understanding people. I think to be a really good creative, you have to understand the person and who you're creating something for. And I think that's always interested me. And so I think that's what keeps me going today, even, is just really understanding, like, how do we get people to be healthier? And how do we get them to want that?
Yeah.
But and actually do it.
Yeah. So in those early days at Fallon, you did the rotation and you became a creative. That must be a little bit weird because all of a sudden you're a creative.
Yeah.
Right? Probably imposter syndrome is big when you're whatever you were in your 20s.
Yeah.
How did you handle that? Because you ended up leaving as an art director and doing some very significant work for them.
Yeah. It was hard, but you know what? I had really amazing mentors. Like I said, I was a self-taught designer and the only job that was available at the time was a production artist job. And I'm like, okay, I'll take it. And I got really lucky because the group of Australians came in and they sort of became the creative leadership at the time. And one of them really took me under his wing and was like, you got to do this. And I really learned a lot from him, really like kind of honed my craft and learned about ideas and insights and how to dig in and really, again, understand people and who you're designing for. And that really changed my life. And so I think that having someone to kind of believe in you and pull you along, and I don't even know if he realized that, right? But I think that really was the game changer for me. And then from there, I'm like, I can do this. I want more projects. Give me something else. And what I really did was like anything that other people didn't want to do, I was like, I'll do it. I'll do it. And so I think that just worked out. And eventually I started to get to working on the cooler stuff. So
I suspect you're paying that forward in how you run your team and run your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really important. I mean, I try to, without being overbearing, because you never really know how much, right? How much people want it, but to offer that advice and to pull people along when you see something in them. You know when somebody has an eye, even if it isn't like what they're doing isn't right for that particular project, but you know they have an eye. And if you can find that, you can teach the rest, but you can't teach the eye.
Of all those experiences, which of them do you feel was the most developmental for you as a leader, as a creative?
Yeah. The project that I think that sticks in my mind from my time at Fallon was the launch of the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. I think the brief going into that was how do you bring a luxury several thousand room boutique hotel to Vegas that doesn't want to lean into the sin? And I think for me,
good brief.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
For me, being able to dive into that with those senior leaders and to see that project end to end, work through the launch and then work on it for the subsequent 2 years was like game changing. It's sort of like it gave me like an MBA in understanding like business. And it really gave me this like love for hospitality. Of course, then I kind of diverted and worked on several other industries, but I feel like I'm coming home to that now, working at Lifetime.
What part of your career do you feel like you're most creatively on fire? Take current land. We'll talk about your current role, but leading up to that, when do you like, I'm so on it? Was it that assignment, the Cosmopolitan?
I would say that or some of the work that I was doing for Cadillac at the time and launching the new ATS, the new CTS. At the time, it was like Cadillac. It felt like Cadillac was having a resurgence. They were redesigning all their cars. I didn't I didn't know anything about automotive advertising, but I jumped in with my aesthetic and sort of my POV on it, and it took off. And like, it was amazing to see that come to life. I mean, and just to see that stuff out in the world and dealerships, on TV, on the website, everywhere. It's like, wow, that's actually out there.
Then you went freelance and for quite a few years, right?
Yeah.
Why did you do that? Did you want freedom? Did you want like to work on lots of different things? What was your motivation?
I feel like I've always had this entrepreneurial like thing inside of me, which is why I started Aki as well. But I wanted to have a little more free time, to be honest, and to have a little more time to think and pick and choose and sort of like step back. And what I found was that you can really get in and understand a brand, offer your perspective from like a consulting level, but then step out when things get a little like sort of into the weeds, right? And I think as a creative, it was really refreshing to be able to do that for a few years, because when you work on brands sometimes for a long time, as I'm sure you know, it gets really complex and sort of you kind of lose sight maybe of the North Star. And so I really, really enjoyed being able to do that and jump out and dive in. I also really got the opportunity to work with some young startups and friends to like get their businesses off the ground. I got to work with some major companies like Dow and Zoetis and doing chemical advertising for agriculture. Totally different thing. But yeah, it was great.
What brand or what assignment back then really stands out in terms of work that you really enjoyed? Worked
Well,
with a lot of lifestyle brands from what I saw.
yeah. I think one, it's always amazing when you get called back from a client you worked on several
It's
years
nice.
ago,
Yeah.
even after leaving, to say, "Oh, hey, I saw you. Would you want to jump in on this
Mhm.
project?" So I think that's like that feels really good, as a creative to be remembered like that. But I think the most rewarding thing for me during that period was actually starting hockey. And really, I think that's where I kind of shifted my perspective from being a really good creative to understanding every aspect of a business. And when you're the one there, you're starting it, you're not just designing or coding the website, you're creating the backend system, you're creating the recipes, you're working with your friend that's a nutritionist to organize everything to make sure it's macro correct, to doing the marketing, to doing the sales, to every end to end. It's it's a humbling experience, and I think everyone should do it, but I think that was the most rewarding thing that I did during that time, literally purely just from a learning perspective.
What did you learn about yourself doing that? 'Cause that's a big lift, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I learned that you need a bigger team to really scale a business.
Yeah. So 9 years ago, then you came to Lifetime, right? That's a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I can't believe it.
What about the brand? What drew you to it?
So it is a brand that I've lived
You were
this
a member
brand.
then.
I was a
Yeah.
member then, and health has always been at the core of what I do, right? I started a healthy meal company,
Mhm.
and I think I was ready. I was still freelancing at the time, so I had other clients and different
Mhm.
things,
Mhm.
but I was ready to work on a brand that was doing good in the world. And I think a lot of brands do good in the world, but truly trying to make people healthier. And so I got really excited when I got the call. I actually met my current writing partner and sort of my person also at Lifetime there. And so we're still working together to this
Mm.
day. And she really opened my eyes to the world of Lifetime and the opportunity. And I just feel lucky every day when you meet someone like that and you get to work with them every day in, day out. You become friends, you become family. And that's really what's kept me there. And I think in the same thing, when I did go from freelance to full time, the and this was during the pandemic or right after it. I during the pandemic, I really got to know Bahram Akradi, the founder,
Mhm.
chairman, CEO of the company, and we really hit it off. And again, that same feeling of family, and it just felt right. And so at that time, it was an awesome opportunity to come on and to lead us creatively out of the pandemic to sort of I don't want to say rebrand, but rewire the way that we approach things.
I want to talk about that in some depth in a moment, but tell me a little bit more about why it clicked so well with you and your writer, your work partner.
Yeah. I think we see the world maybe the same way. We're interested, well, in some of the same things, but also just curious, like curiosity. Like you're always interested in like the what, the why, the how does that work? And you care about it. Like I actually like really care that every single one of our DPTs are successful. Like I want to know like what they need us to do to change the product or to make it better, and how do we want to communicate it to make it better for them. And I think when you care about that and when you understand then the science behind the health and sort of why people are doing it, I think that just pure understanding and curiosity is what like drives that forward. And she has that and can make it come to life in a brilliant way that I could never do with words.
When you think about everything you two have worked on together, what initiative or campaign or thing stands out as most meaningful?
I don't even know if I could say it was a campaign, but I think um, getting to go back to the core of the brand to understand why it was named Lifetime in the beginning, literally the juxtaposition between your life, how you spend your time, and fitness. If
Mhm.
you combine all of those, right? Like that's literally all about living a better life and extending your time. And so getting to the root of that and really understanding it, and actually what we did when we brought the company forward in an IPO and all the work that was surrounded that we traveled the country and went to like 50 locations and just met people and interviewed them and got to know them. And that whole process, I think, was the best project I think we've ever worked on, really getting at the core of what the brand is. And that's what served as like the foundation now for how we've moved forward over the last 3.5 years.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that because I think there's so much learning. Your business is growing really nicely. I mean, I saw your most recent earnings report. You're growing customers. Customer and employee satisfaction is really high. You have waiting lists at many of your clubs. I mean, really serious waiting lists. And it was the strategy you're talking about to go more premium, to expand into other areas like residences, work location. So it's working. It's clicking. So I read your CEO. I was reading a profile of him in a Twin Cities publication. And he was reflecting on that. And he said, this is a quote, "We wanted to move from a sales-driven culture to an experience-driven culture."
Yeah.
And you did some radical things on that journey. So I want you to take us back to that strategy. Where did it start? What was the reason? What was the catalyst? And tell us that story because it is quite remarkable. What you've done is really hard.
Yeah.
You pivoted the company. And you did go back to the origin story in some ways, but so much more.
Yeah. Looking back even further than that, right? Like gym culture, it's all about pressure sales, getting you in, getting you out. And it was about selling more memberships than a club could ever possibly handle, right? And what we found is, why would you want to do that to a consumer to have them not use, right? Like it just feels wrong. And I think over time, as the company grew and grew and grew and added more locations and more people and sort of really kind of expanded into becoming a lifestyle company, we realized non-use is not where we want to go. It doesn't feel right, right? And so at its core, that's what it is. If you're a member, we want you to use it. We want you to be a part of the community. What really helped us do that, to be honest, was COVID. Like the fact that we got shut down and actually had a chance to step back, reflect, to understand usage patterns, to see how and why people want to come here, and to make a conscious choice to switch that.
So how did that happen, Nick? Were you like on a Zoom call? I mean, were you together as a team?
During that time, there was this really core team, like 5-6 people that would go into the office and we would work together day in and day out and really think like what is the future and what is the next level of Lifetime? And
at that time, you were pretty much shut down, right?
We were shut down, yeah. And so, but like I said, that's what a beautiful opportunity to really think about then what it's like to reopen.
So that little team of 5 was together.
Yeah.
What kinds of things did you talk about? How did you set the strategy? What did you decide to do first?
Well,
you didn't bring salespeople back, right?
No. So it was all about the customer. And it's like, and that's actually the really cool thing about Bahram and the way he founded the company is what he calls the member point of view. And so that was really the core of the conversation. And what we realize is people don't need to be sold. They need help. Instead of having a massive sales team, why don't we have a massive concierge team there to help you in every aspect? Not in just membership, but in life, right? Like literally, you're a health coach at every step. And so that was really the core. And then when you also being closed gives you a chance to really dissect each part of the experience. Like, what could we do better? What do people want? What would make their lives better? How would it be easier to interact with us? So we got the opportunity to actually, I don't want to dissect is maybe a bad word, but I don't have a better one right now. But I think really dissect every single one of those experiences and figure out how we could make it better, how we could make it more desirable, more useful. And so as we're able to do that, we're like, well, the way the brand is communicating about this isn't in line with the way that we're thinking here and the way that we want to move forward. And so that's really where I got to step in and hone this new path forward and sort of not just position us to this like sort of aesthetic premium look, right? But it's about truly communicating the brand. And the other thing that I really love about the decisions we made during that time was to no longer advertise. So it's not about performance marketing. It's not about pushing the sale every single week. It's about stepping back, communicating your product, doing right by the consumer, and letting them come to us.
How quickly did you see that it was working? How long did it take before you said, yeah, it's being validated. This is the right direction?
Pretty quickly. I mean, I don't always quote numbers, but if I think about the 3-year stint from our full year 21 to full year 24, we doubled revenue. So I think that kind of speaks for itself.
That's amazing. So what was your learning? I mean, for our listeners who would love to do that with their brand, their business, step back, reflect, set a strategy, and it's really clicking, focus on the customer. What's your major learning going through that process?
Self-reflect every day. Actually making the time to step back.
You still do that?
Quiet the noise. There's a million things happening every day. A million numbers, a million requests, a million whatever you might be dealing with. But if you can just carve out even 15 minutes to really think about what's an ideal state, what have I learned from this last day or week or month or whatever quarter, whatever it might be, and what's one thing I could do that would make it better. And I think if you break it down into those steps, just like with any healthy habit, if you break it down into those very simple steps, doable steps, you'll get there.
Was there anything, I mean, it sounds all beautiful now, right? Your numbers, you doubled, your member sat is up, employee sat is up. Anything that didn't work? Any stumble that you made in that? Anything you had to pivot from as you set the new strategy?
I'll say, I think my initial reaction was to push the brand really far into the luxury space.
Mm-hmm.
And what I quickly learned from listening to the members and listening to people is that that's not quite where we're at. And that's not quite where we need to be as a brand. And so I think I learned a little bit very quickly and was able to pivot. And I think every day you make little pivots, right? To kind of to find your way and being able to recognize that.
This must have changed how you spend your time massively, going from a sort of a push sales culture to one of experience.
Yeah.
So talk about that. How's your role different from when it was before the pivot? And how did you build your team differently?
Yeah, I actually love it because I get to go to the club. I get to do the DPT sessions. I get to do the massages. I get to audit the experience and be a part of it. And it's more about deeply understanding that than it is coming up with a flashy ad campaign. Because, well, sometimes if you do both, it works really, really well. But I personally love it. And I think what it's allowed us to do is to have a really small core team as well. I think when you don't have to do weekly promotions and sort of the full media spec list there, the team size changes. And so it starts to feel a little bit more like a startup mentality. But also what I found is people are more aligned. Everyone knows what's happening and they know where the puck is going. They understand why we're doing it. And I think that's the core reason why there's more job satisfaction, because people are enjoying the experience more.
Yeah. How do you get awareness when you're not advertising? Is it word of mouth? Do you count on that?
Yeah. So we have devotees.
Yeah.
People that have loved our brand for forever. And that truly is, there's no amount of media budget that can charge for that, right? And they truly do spread the word. They evangelize every single thing we do. And I think it also speaks to the level of community that we've been able to build. And I think people, whether they hear it only through word of mouth, I think you feel it and you see it, and you want to be a part of it.
I mean, you're in a very busy, dynamic, some would say cluttered category. There's lots. this obviously has differentiated you more. So could you talk a bit more about that? How the company and the brand is seen post versus pre the pivot?
I mean, I think before the pivot, we were seen as a gym.
Mm-hmm.
That purely. That's the only thing that we offered, weights and cardio machines, even though that wasn't the case. But that's really was the perception. And I think even though maybe I wouldn't say that perception is 100% shifted, but we sure have made great strides. And I think people see us as a healthy lifestyle or your true like athletic country club, the place that you go in your community, your third home is the goal.
You've worked on other lifestyle brands. How is this one different?
This one's way more comprehensive. I think if I think about it, there's something at Lifetime that could touch almost every single part of your life. From health is number one, right? But how you eat, how you think about your finances, how you live, how you work, how you spend your time, how far you drive and travel. All of those things can be experienced within this one company. And I have never worked for another brand in the world that has that level of connectedness to someone's life.
Wow. With that scope and that mission, this brand could go to a lot of different places. Mm-hmm. How do you see it 10 years from now? What's your hope? I mean, who knows? But
my hope is we're not only affecting the just under 1 million people that we affect today that are walking into the physical locations, but 20 million, 200 million people with what we're building with Lacey, our Lifetime AI companion. We have an opportunity to bring the ecosystem, the whole life ecosystem, every single touch point of it for free to the world. And I know that we'll be able to do that in the next 10 years.
So how will you do that? It will be outside your club, of course.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What are you learning about that as you develop it?
You know, it's like you said, AI is like an interesting hot button right now. But I think what differentiates us, you can go to ChatGPT today and ask pretty much anything you want, right, about health. You don't know if you can trust that source, even if you follow it through, which I can guarantee you less than 0.2% of people actually do that. Our information comes directly from our 30 plus years of knowledge and experience, our trusted trainers, nutritionists, dietitians, coaches. So when you ask Lacey a question about your health, you know it's accurate. You can trust it.
Because it's your data, your people.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, let's talk a little bit more about your role. Your scope is really big. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's everything from digital campaigns, club design, in-club experiences you just talked about. So it's big. Mm-hmm. So how do you manage it all? I mean, you are more focused now. Mm-hmm. You spend more time in the clubs. I'm hearing all that. But, you know, you're in a JCPenney to redesign it into you're opening new sites. You're very aggressive in terms of your expansion.
Double digit every year.
Yeah. How do you manage it all?
I have the most amazing colleagues and team.
Okay.
I think that is the core. Again, it feels like a family. We all trust each other. We have the best intentions at heart, and we're all very, very aligned to what needs to be done and when. And I think from a structural perspective, we've really figured out and nailed the right touch points every week. I think that's so key in any organization when you have those right touch points, those right review points, those ritual meetings, I'd like to call them. Mm-hmm. We don't actually call them that, but I call them that. It's key to be able to continue to drive everything forward and to stay on top of everything.
You just rattled that off. We're like family. We're totally aligned. We trust each other.
Yeah.
You sound like you're clear in your priorities. How did you build that?
Reps.
Okay. Say more.
You know, what's really interesting is there's, I think it's also a set of shared values. And there's something about working out with people and sweating together. I know it maybe sounds silly, but it works. It works. It really does. And I think every one of us loves it. Like that's what we do. We'll do classes together. We'll do training sessions together. We'll do group workouts together. We spend the time together. And I think in this digital world where so many people are still working fully remote, I think it's invaluable to still be able to have those times where you can come together, because it's really the only way that you can build true trust with someone.
I love that thought. You're a creative, you're a designer, you like doing work, right? And a lot of your career has been doing the work. Well, now you're leading the work. So how did you make that adjustment? You now have a lot of people in your organization who work with you. So how did you go from creator, designer to kind of leader?
I think it maybe happened slowly, but I still like to do some of the work. Maybe they all don't love that, but
What work you love doing most?
I love getting in and designing brand. I like designing the core of it, right? So pulling scrap and rolling around in the insights and working with our strategy team and working directly with Bahram on whether it's a design of a new logo for a new program or offering we're having, or the app experience itself. Like, I will roll up my sleeves and sort of get in there and do a conceptual take on something. And I still love doing it. Like, I feel like if I didn't do that, I'd be really missing a huge part of me. And so I actually think it's such a gift that even though I have this large team, we have agency partners, we have multiple different teams within our organization that are all working on this stuff. But the fact that I can sort of lead by example, I think is really important. And I don't know, honestly, that I would trust any creative leader that doesn't do that. Even, my time working with pretty much every creative I've ever worked with, right? No matter how high up you are, you're still getting in there and working on it and rolling around and getting your hands dirty.
You brought up your CEO a couple times already.
Yeah.
And he's your founder. He's been with the brand for 35 years or something like that?
From the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
Yeah. He conceived it.
Yeah. So talk about that. Talk about what he's like. What kind of leader is he? What you have learned from him.
Yeah.
What kinds of things do you two work on the most together?
He is a brilliant guy. I think he is maybe you could call him a jack of all trades, right? But he really is a visionary. Not only did he have a vision for this way back, 30 plus years ago when no one else was doing it, to really create this amazing ecosystem. That alone is really inspiring. I probably talk to him almost daily. And so it's, we can work on anything from the minutia of a label design to new innovation lab in New York to a video we're working on for an investor presentation. It really runs the gamut.
What makes him so special?
His thrust. And I think his ability to connect the dots from a consumer and member perspective to what we should deliver. It's like, I've never seen somebody do it faster. And I hope to be like that.
Your roots are in Minnesota. Talk about how that's affected the company and its culture and how you work.
I think we're a humbler group. I don't think any single one of us is out there doing for self-promotion, right? It's about the values of the company. It's about doing right by people. And I think there's something to be said and true about, like everyone says, the Midwest values, but I think it shows through in the day-to-day and how people interact with each other. There's care there, right? There's not always shortness and business only, and it's people care about what you did for the weekend. And I think that's beautiful.
Which club do you hang out in most?
Our Southdale club.
Okay.
It's one of the newest ones here in the Twin Cities. It's where my trainer is, my massage therapist, where I get my hair cut, all of it.
I love your life.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, we have a lot of CMOs who listen to the show and CEOs. You're the top creative person in the company. Talk about, in a bit more details, what others can learn and how you work with your CEO and your other cross-functional colleagues. What is the What's a culture like? How often do you meet? Is it structured or unstructured? You work out together, you said.
Yeah.
But what can others learn by this great relationship that you've built with your CEO?
Yeah. I think you got to have the ritual meetings. You got to have an open line of communication. And I think if anything is on your mind, even if it's a small thing, if you're like, it's just, you can't get it off your mind, you pick up the phone. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if they're the CEO or the CFO or what they do for the company. If it's on your mind, you need to talk about it and come to a solution.
Yeah. Don't let it bubble up there, right?
Yeah. Because I think what I've seen working for a lot of CMOs and for a lot of leaders in the past is, which is really detrimental actually to the brand, is when the CMO and the CEO do not speak or are not aligned with where they want to take the brand. And I think that's maybe why CMOs have low tenure,
Mm-hmm. Now, this area, you talked about the possibility of affecting tens of millions of people with their health and their fitness. This has been an age-old issue in this country and many other countries as well. What have you learned about changing that dynamic, changing that arc because I enjoy fitness. I do it because I enjoy it and it's good for me. I don't think everyone sees it that way. So what have you learned that you think will help us change that arc?
You got to start really small.
Yeah.
You got to make it fun and make it easy. I've talked to a lot of our members, and one of the quotes that sticks with me, it was one of our members who, it was like a 2-year journey, but lost almost 100 pounds. And when we were talking to him, he said, he's like, I didn't know that I was designed to feel good. And all he did was start by going on the treadmill for 10 minutes a day. But what he realized is after only 10 minutes, you get a little bounce in your step. You feel a little better. And guess what? Maybe even slept a little bit better the next night. So then the next day, you can come and do 50. And I think as you build the habit, it's like building an addiction to something good instead of something bad.
Yeah. Okay, Nick, this is so good. I want to flip into the creative brief.
Okay.
And the first question I have for you is, what's the first brand as a young boy you remember making an impact on you?
I would have to say Reebok. And I think it was the first time that I ever realized the power of a brand, because I was about 7 years old. I used to spend a lot of my summers with my grandmother and my cousins. I did. And
in Minnesota?
Yeah. And what she did, it was right before school was going to start. And she was like, each of you have to clean out a closet. And the one of you that does it the best is going to get a pair of Reeboks. And I would tell you, I was going to get those Reeboks. And the fact that like a kid who's 7 years old wants a Reebok that bad, I'm like, they were doing something to get into our psyche, right? And so I think from that day forward, I was like, that's really interesting. And I always remember that.
Remember the pump?
Yeah.
Good for grandma.
Yeah,
good competitive
exactly.
spirit. She would have been a good executive.
I know, I'm going to do that.
Now, this love of the outdoors you have, you like to be outdoors, working out, doing things. Where's that come from? What's the root of that?
I think it started as a kid. I'm actually part Native American, so I don't know, maybe it's somewhere in there. But I think I am also an only child. And so I kind of like to spend a lot of time alone. And I think in order to like recharge, having that like moment in nature, I think the Japanese call it like shirin-yoku when you do a forest walk. It's like core of who I am. And I've always just really enjoyed it. And it's like kind of how I decompress even every day.
What's your favorite day in the outdoors?
Hiking, running 30 miles.
So that's the outdoors. What sparked your passion for design and creativity?
I don't know who put the magazines in our house, but
grandmother.
I would look at Arc Digest, and I thought sidetrack. I thought I was going to be an architect. I really wanted to do that when I was a little kid, but I got obsessed with house designs and plans and sort of what they look like. And I would draw out little plans. And like I said, I would used to decorate my room myself and do all these things and sort of do little odd jobs for people around the neighborhood so I could buy decorations. It's like, what kind of kid does doing that? But it really like stuck with me. And still something I love to do today.
Who has influenced your creative outlook, kind of your point of view on design and creativity? A teacher, a professor, a friend, work colleague?
I think so many people for all different reasons. I think one of the Australians that I work with that was really my core mentor, Christy Peacock, I think he taught me the value of good design, like really good design. I think Jeff Kling taught me when he was the ECD of Fallon, really taught me the importance of understanding people and being an anthropologist. You're not just a creative. You need to really get in there and to deeply understand what motivates them, right? The core. And then I think the kind of third one that really sticks out, honestly, is my partner, Jill. I think her curiosity and brain is just beautiful, and it inspires me every day to say yes and to keep digging.
It's amazing the impact Fallon had on you.
Yeah.
You know, I talked to a lot of people on the show who started in the agency business and kind of had the point of view that it's the best place to start because of the variety of leaders, mentors, projects, your view, top, down, across. So you obviously feel the same way.
I definitely do. I would tell anyone coming out of college, do at least 2 years and find the sort of the biggest, best one that's moving as fast, that has the most amount of clients, and get in there and try to work on every single one of them. Because you're going to learn so much about yourself, about the industry, about multiple industries.
So what's inspiring you outside of work today, you know, in terms of whatever, fitness, movies, books, podcasts? What kinds of things do you take in to fuel your creative spirit?
I'm actually obsessed with home renovations. That's sort of my other second thing. And
I'm smiling over here. We've done like 14 of them.
Yes. Aren't they fun?
Yeah, they are fun. Like they are fun most of the time.
Yeah. Maybe not when
we
you're
tend to
living
move
in
too early to renovations,
yes,
which I don't love.
Yeah.
When you don't have windows in the house, things like that.
Yeah. Last year, we found this amazing little sort of William Cody cottage in Palm Springs. And we've spent the last year sort of stripping it all the way back to its core and bringing it back to the way that he would have like originally intended it. And I think I've been able to like do like actual library research on some of his early work, and going back into materiality and like really digging in on it has been such an amazing additional creative outlet.
Is that the coolest renovation you worked on?
It's one of the coolest ones in the last couple of years.
Okay. Right. How many have you done?
We've done two major ones.
All right.
And like I said, every single place I've lived, I've also done a little bit of one, but I wouldn't call that a full one. But yeah, 2 full top to bottom, take it all apart, put it all back together.
Yeah. So we had Dave Schneider on the show yesterday. I recorded him. He's the CMO of Red Wing, which is an incredible brand. And he has a favorite question, so I'm going to kind of borrow from him. And it's a big one and kind of a tough one. The question is, what's the greatest risk you'd take if you knew you couldn't fail? He had trouble answering it, by the way.
Yeah, that's a really good question. The greatest risk I'd take if I wouldn't fail. I have so many. Wait, can I give you 5?
You can give me as many as you want.
I think I would bring health and wellness, true health and wellness, to every third world country as a way to help shift and better the societies. If I knew it would work, if there was there's no risks, no money involved, that's what I would do.
Very on brand for your company,
yeah,
and for you, right? Because your values are similar or the same. Who's been the most inspiring person in your life?
Oh man, like I said, I don't think I have just one. But from a career perspective, I would have to say Chrissy Peacock. The fact that he took me under his wing, taught me so much, that completely changed my life and the trajectory that I've gone. And if I wouldn't have had that experience, I definitely wouldn't be here today.
Did he do that with other people, or do you think you had a special relationship with him? Was that kind of how he operated?
I think in general he did, but at least at the time when I was with him at Fallon, I was sort of the closest to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're listening.
I hope so. What makes him so special? Is it how he communicates, his view of the world, his creative process?
I think it's a combination of having somebody trust you, give you a shot on projects he knew you never worked on before, right? And to actually teach you a process, to teach you the creative. Like I said, I never went to school for that. I never was a self-taught designer. And to have somebody kind of give you a bit of a schooling on how to approach it and how to think about it was invaluable.
Nick, this has been wonderful. Last question. What's your next workout?
I am going to be doing 10 circuit workout with my trainer. I'm actually training for not High Rocks, but our version of it called LT Games. More endurance and strength focused, but that's my next
Later
workout.
today?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Already did mine today.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Damn it, I haven't. And something's missing when I don't.
Yeah, right.
You know, sometimes schedules are just hard. It's not an excuse. They just are. But I'm not rough on myself.
I was going to say, don't beat yourself up.
I don't. I'll just come back and enjoy it even more. So
thank you.
Thank you for this.
This is an honor. I appreciate it.
Oh, so good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.